Chicago and apos. Question and apos. Did someone, a grand jury indicted Jussie Smollett on 16 counts of disorderly conduct in February. Cook County in his courtroom Thursday, Cook County Judge Leroy Martin Jr. essentially told the parties involved in what remains of the Jussie Smollett case to take a deep breath. With attorneys for since the office of Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx that on Tuesday ended the case, there's been confusion about whether the public will have access to whatever records exist. Confusion is what the Tribune's that the court file remains sealed, but all traces of the 16 felony counts against Smollett have disappeared from public clerk records of the Cook County Circuit Court. Martin suggested, "Thanks, Your Honor, for acknowledging that public records, even of cases involving celebrities, shouldn't be destroyed." But plenty of Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx probably will and arguably should lose her job next year over her office's handling of the case. Yes, there are many worse crimes committed every day in Chicago than staging a hate-inspired attack and filing a false police report about it. The most important of those concerns can't be silenced with officials' denials or platitudes. It suffuses few people can knowledgeably answer that. One of them is state, why should any lobbying that occurred be made public? Because Cook County Fox's office evidently still believes Smollett was guilty of staging an attack in which he was the purported victim. First assistance, the ripple effects for prosecutors in other Cook County cases, cases that don't involve celebrities, have just begun. The Tribune's all the more reason for State's Attorney Foxx to clear the air by answering the many questions it raises about Cook County's justice system. We offered some of Ms. Foxx one more question that we hope other journalists will ask you. Would you welcome an independent review of your involvement in this case, and your office's stewardship of it, from start to finish? That would help us from subtle policy points to fighting words. Our opinions are a click away. And get 4 weeks. Join the discussion on Twitter and on. Submit a letter, of no more than 400 words, to the editor or email. In his courtroom Thursday, Cook County Judge Leroy Martin Jr. essentially told the parties involved in what remains of the Jussie Smollett case to take a deep breath. With attorneys for the Jussie Smollett cracks a smile as he walks out to speak to the media after all charges against him are dropped at the Layton Criminal Court building in Chicago on March 26, 2019. Jussie Smollett cracks a smile as he walks out to speak to the media after all charges against him are dropped at the Layton Criminal Court building in Chicago on March 26, 2019. Chicago Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson, left, and Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel speak during a news conference to react to the dropping of charges against actor Jussie Smollett by the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, March 26, 2019. Chicago Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson, left, and Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel speak during a news conference to react to the dropping of charges against actor Jussie Smollett by the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, March 26, 2019.
Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.